The sun was just beginning to rise over the sleepy town of Willowbrook, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The streets were quiet, except for the soft sound of a broom sweeping the sidewalk in front of the old bakery. Mrs. Evelyn Clark, a woman in her late 60s, moved slowly but steadily, her silver hair tied in a neat bun and her eyes carrying the gentle warmth of someone who had seen life in all its shades. Evelyn had owned Sweet Beginnings Bakery for nearly 35 years. It wasn't the fanciest place in town, but it was the heart of the neighborhood. People didn't just come for her pastries, they came for her kindness. Every morning, she'd greet customers with a smile, remembering their names, their favorite orders, and sometimes even their stories. For her, kindness wasn't something extraordinary, it was the small everyday moments that made life meaningful. But lately, business had been slow. The big coffee chain that opened 2 blocks away had taken most of her customers. The rent had gone up, and Evelyn often found herself dipping into her savings just to keep the lights on. Still, every morning, she baked. The smell of warm bread and cinnamon rolls still filled the air, as if she refused to let the sweetness fade away from her life. Across the street, a young boy named Liam often watched her from behind a dusty window. He was 12, small for his age, with messy brown hair and a pair of hand-me-down sneakers that had seen better days. Liam lived with his mother, Sarah, in a tiny apartment above the hardware store. His father had passed away 2 years ago in an accident, and life since then had been a constant struggle. Sarah worked double shifts at the diner, leaving early in the morning and coming home long after sunset. Liam did his best to help, running errands, cooking simple meals, but most days, he just felt lonely. Every morning on his way to school, Liam walked past Evelyn's bakery. The sweet smell of baked bread always stopped him in his tracks. Sometimes, he'd peek inside just to watch her work, the way she kneaded the dough, humming softly to herself, or the way her eyes lit up when a customer smiled. He'd never been inside, he couldn't afford to. But he liked watching, it made him feel safe somehow. One cold morning, Liam stood outside the bakery longer than usual, his stomach rumbling. He hadn't had breakfast, and the sight of freshly baked croissants behind the window was almost too much to bear. Evelyn noticed him standing there. She wiped her hands on her apron, walked to the door, and opened it with a smile. "Good morning, sweetheart," she said softly. "You look like you could use something warm." Liam hesitated, his cheeks turning red. I was just looking. Sorry." Evelyn shook her head. "Nonsense. Come in." He stepped inside, his eyes widening at the rows of pastries and loaves of bread neatly arranged on the counter. Evelyn handed him a steaming cup of cocoa and a freshly baked muffin. "On the house," she said. Liam blinked, unsure how to respond. "But I don't have any money." "You don't need any," she smiled. "Sometimes, a warm heart is enough." That was the first of many mornings Liam spent in the bakery. He'd come by before school, help Evelyn sweep the floor, or stack the bread trays. In return, she'd give him a small breakfast and sometimes slip an extra roll into his backpack for lunch. The bakery became his second home, a place where the air smelled like sugar and kindness. One evening, Evelyn noticed Liam staring at an empty jar near the register labeled "Charity for the Homeless." It had once been full, but lately, donations had slowed to a trickle. "People are struggling these days," she said quietly. Liam frowned. "Maybe we can help," he said. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "We?" He nodded eagerly. "I can make posters at school. Maybe we can ask people to donate clothes or food instead of money. My teacher says even small acts can make a big difference." Evelyn's heart swelled with pride. Together, they started a small kindness drive. Liam made colorful posters, and Evelyn spread the word through her regulars. Soon, people began bringing canned goods, old coats, and blankets. They filled the back corner of the bakery with boxes labeled "Warm Hearts Project." Every Friday, they handed out food to those in need. Word spread quickly through Willowbrook. People who hadn't visited in months started coming back, not just for pastries but to be part of something meaningful. The bakery became a place of compassion, a haven where people connected through giving. But not everything stayed easy. One afternoon, a letter arrived from the landlord. Evelyn's rent was increasing again. She read the notice slowly, her hands trembling. Even with the small boost from the Kindness Project, she knew she couldn't keep the bakery open much longer. That evening, she sat at one of the corner tables, staring at the empty chairs as tears filled her eyes. The smell of fresh bread filled the room, but for the first time, it didn't comfort her. Liam walked in and saw her quietly wiping her face. "Mrs. Clark? What's wrong?" She forced a small smile. "Just a little tired, dear. Nothing you need to worry about." But Liam wasn't convinced. When she went to the kitchen, he saw the letter lying on the table. He read it quickly, and his heart sank. The bakery was in danger of closing. That night, he couldn't sleep. He thought about everything Evelyn had done for him, the breakfasts, the warmth, the kindness. He couldn't let her lose the place that meant so much to her. The next morning, he got up early and went door to door around the neighborhood. He told everyone what was happening, how Mrs. Clark's bakery was struggling, how she'd helped so many people, how it was more than just a shop. People listened. They remembered her kindness, the free pastries for children, the food drives, the comforting smile she always offered. Within a few days, word spread across town. People began visiting the bakery again, some bought extra pastries to give away, others donated directly. A local news reporter even came to do a small feature about the little bakery with the big heart. The story went viral online. Messages of love and support poured in from people all over the country, and donations started arriving in envelopes marked with words like, "Keep the warmth alive." When Evelyn opened one of the envelopes, she found a note inside that read, "You once gave me bread when I couldn't afford any. Now I hope this helps you keep baking." A check for $500 was tucked inside. She pressed her hands over her heart, overwhelmed. The community came together like never before. Volunteers helped repaint the bakery, fix the old sign, and even created a small mural on the side wall, a pair of hands passing a loaf of bread, with the words, "Kindness never fails." When Evelyn asked Liam how it all happened, he just smiled shyly. "You taught me, remember? Even small acts can make a big difference." From that day on, the bakery wasn't just hers, it belonged to everyone. The shelves were filled with pastries again, but more importantly, the air was filled with laughter and hope. Evelyn introduced a new tradition: every customer could take one kindness cookie for free, as long as they promised to pass a kind act forward. Years passed, and Liam grew up. He worked part-time at the bakery through high school, then went on to study social work. Every time he came home, he'd stop by to help Evelyn, who still baked every morning, humming to herself with that same gentle smile. One winter day, years later, Evelyn passed away peacefully in her sleep. The whole town mourned her. The bakery's door was covered with flowers and notes, messages from people whose lives she had touched. One of them read, "You taught us to be kind when the world forgot how." After the funeral, Liam stood quietly in front of the bakery. The snow fell softly around him. He unlocked the door, turned on the lights, and took a deep breath. The smell of bread and cinnamon filled the room again. He smiled, tears glistening in his eyes, and whispered, "For you, Mrs. Clark." He decided to keep the bakery open, not just as a shop, but as a place of kindness. He renamed it Hearts That Heal Bakery. Every week, he continued the Warm Hearts Project, feeding the hungry, helping children, and spreading compassion, just like Evelyn had taught him. One evening, a little girl peeked through the bakery window, her face pressed against the glass, much like he once had. Liam walked over, opened the door, and smiled warmly. "Hey there," he said gently. You look like you could use something warm. The girl hesitated. I don't have any money. He shook his head, smiling. You don't need any. Sometimes, a warm heart is enough. And just like that, the circle of kindness continued, from one heart to another, across time, across generations. Because kindness, once sown, never dies. It lives in the hearts it touches, growing quietly like sunlight through clouds, healing the world one simple act at a time.